Hello, World History students. Welcome back to our 1200 to 1450 review session. Please make sure you have your review unit sheets out so you're ready to go for this. So for this video, we're going to be talking about land trade and the civilizations that are associated with it. So this slide is mostly getting at one of your key term questions, which I believe is on the back of your sheet of paper, that ask about why does trade actually help benefit certain civilizations. So for one, it helps give tax revenue, and it also helps spread ideas, and with those ideas, you can get new religions as well, plus inventions. So going back to our key terms, the first key civilization I want you guys to know is the Song Dynasty. This is the first dynasty in AP World History that we talked about in class. We did talk about a few other dynasties in our pre-unit. However, for the AP exam, the Song Dynasty is the dynasty in China during 1200. The main thing you need to know about the Song Dynasty, beyond the Confucianism from our previous video that we did, is that they were very, very good at scientific advancements. In fact, I would argue they were so scientifically advanced and focusing on literature. One category of their civilization they did not necessarily focus too much on, which maybe they should have focused a little bit more on, is their military. And eventually, watch out for the Mongols. The Mongols are eventually going to come and conquer them. So the first key term or key vocab ones that I want you guys to know about the Song Dynasty is the magnetic compass, which I have down your sheet of paper. Now, I expect most of you guys know what the compass is, but I want you, this is an example of a specific example that you guys could use on the AP exam, and this was one of the inventions that was perfected by the Song Dynasty. And remember, one of the key things of history that I wanted to correct in this class was the idea that Europeans were the ones that invented all these cool technologies. Well, in reality, it's really a lot of times it's China that's the one that actually invents the stuff, and then through the Silk Road, it eventually diffuses to Europe. Eventually, it takes a while. And one of the things about the compass that's really good is that it helps you do things like trade long distance. The other key term that you want to be associated with the Song Dynasty is the Champa Rice or Champa Rice. And this rice, it was actually originally from Vietnam, but it has the benefits of being pretty hardy and also produces quite a bit of rice. So China did have rice before this rice, but the Champa Rice was known as being highly effective at basically being able to produce a lot of calories. And when you produce a lot of calories and have more food, that equals much more people. And then, of course, the big term, the big trade route that I really want you guys to know that I've already mentioned several times is the Silk Road. Now, technically, the Silk Road is not just one road. We actually, a lot of people call this Silk Roads because it's actually a series of roads that it's gradually over time interconnected together to form one advanced network that connected China all the way through the Middle East and all the way to even Europe and eventually Africa. And as I mentioned before, one of the great things about all these trade routes is not only does it help spread those high luxury items like silk and porcelain and paper, but it also helps spread new technologies, which you see listed in this in our little bottom part of the slide right here. The big civilization associated with the Silk Road that I really want you guys to know is the Mongols. So as I mentioned, the Mongols are eventually going to come down south and conquer the Song Dynasty, and then gradually they're going to just keep following basically the Silk Road until, as you see on this little picture right here, they essentially controlled the whole entire Silk Road. And during the height of the Mongol power, you could argue that we experienced the Pax Mongolia. Pax means peace. It basically means since the Mongols controlled basically almost the whole subcontinent of Asia for the most part, there was very little warfare happens, and they were all connected by economics. And if you recall, eventually the Mongolian Empire breaks up into 4 different khanates. They still were relatively peaceful with each other because, again, the economics supported it. The Silk Roads went through them, and therefore it was in their self-interest to keep the Silk Road running and the economy running smoothly. Now, eventually, this peace comes to an end with the Black Death. The bubonic plague spreads through there, decimated a lot of populations, and even though they didn't know what was causing the Black Plague, they knew it was associated with traders coming from foreign lands. So this was, for most historians, they would argue the bubonic plague was one of the reasons why the Mongolian Empire eventually falls apart. One of the key things that I found really interesting on the Silk Road trade that I want you guys to remember is the Caravanserai. And these were basically hotels and really fancy hotels and trading posts that travelers could stop at while they were traveling on the Silk Road. If you recall, this Silk Road is several thousand miles long, so it could take months to travel across on camel to get there. So a lot of these things are dotted out across the whole entire Asia. And so you have places where you can rest your camels, places where you can get water for the night before you carry on. And a lot of kingdoms would set up these things to help encourage trade to their specific kingdom. Because you remember, trade equals money, trade equals new ideas, trade equals new technology. And then finally, the thing that we end our Silk Road trade on is in Europe. And for the big thing I really want you guys to know in Europe is, remember, during the 1200 to 1450 is they were really not impressive at this point in time in history. They were kind of like, to the sideshow at this point. But the big key term I want you to know what's going on in Europe is feudalism, which is the idea you have a lot of local lords that are pretty much running the thing. You don't really have a lot of strong centralized kings controlling large territories. There were certainly kings around, but a lot of times, the king would walk up, and the lords would say, "Yay, you're king," and then the lords would separate and go their own ways, and pretty much they can run their own little fiefdom themselves. So the feudalism is that idea that you're breaking up into the small different little areas. And then, of course, with that feudalism, there are certain contracts or certain kind of roles you're expected to play. If you're a serf, you're the poor farmer who supplies food. The lord will protect you if you give him his food, and so on.